Hi, welcome to Logistics 360. I'm Kristen Potter.
I'm Keon Clem.
I'm Brett Ryan.
And I'm Matt Randall.
And we're Team 4. We have a really great presentation put together where we're going to explore some complications and issues, looking at some opportunities for optimization, and as well those recommended approaches. What we're looking at first is Frito Lay is a wholly owned subsidiary of PepsiCo. They currently account for about 31% of PepsiCo's business. What they specialize in is manufacturing, producing, and distributing American favorite snack foods. We hope you enjoy the presentation.
The main objective of this case study is looking at the total logistics cost of servicing the networks, the bin networks, and looking at optimizing that cost. The group got together and we conducted a brainstorming session to list out all the issues and complications affecting our objective, and we've narrowed down the 4 complications to the following. The shortage of drivers and the quality of drivers, the company asset utilization, particularly the lack of utilizing the backhaul process, inconsistent docking and material handling equipment, looking for opportunities to make that more efficient and reduce cycle times of loading and unloading the equipment, or product I should say. And lastly, the bin optimization, looking at optimizing the size of the bin to reduce the frequencies of servicing, particularly the remote bins.
One of the first issues that our group did discuss was the current driver shortage in the industry. We see it as a competitive advantage that Frito Lay owns a fleet of drivers. They are currently the 7th largest owned privately owned fleet. To combat this problem, Frito Lay should first look into retention and recruitment programs that are currently in place. Reviewing those, making sure that they need to be updated and aligned to coincide with some of the corporate objectives, and then furthering develop those programs so they can actually go and gear more towards the recruitment aspect of internally growing and being able to retain drivers at that point.
One of the other approaches we looked into were the utilization of backhauls. This has the greatest cost potential for Frito Lay and the fact that it's a cost recovery program. The first approach would be contracting through a third-party broker. This would entail contacting the broker and then picking up a haul within that region and distributing it accordingly. One of the disadvantages of this one is having the truck driver input and buy-in, because ultimately the drivers will be on the road a little bit longer. So maybe they're incentivized by a profit-sharing program. The second approach would be integrating with PepsiCo to correlate their asset utilization.
So for the material handling approach, we're looking at a few different activities. First activity is looking at the actual building of the order on the warehouse or distribution dock to make sure that we're implementing a process that's always consistently following LIFO. That was one of the opportunities. It looked like with the questions that we asked, LIFO might not always be followed. So if LIFO isn't being followed and that's last in first out on a delivery with the truck drivers have to handle extra cases to get to the right product and then to unload it. And also with the techniques with the actual building the load too, some opportunities we would look at to like a project approach would be maybe a color coding system, some way of marking the cases as such so the driver, when they go to deliver to the bins, they know which cases go with the right bin. So there's not a lot of work involved with trying to sort through all the cases that are in the back of the truck and determine what cases go to each delivery destination. So some Kaizen events I think we would want to try to target with that approach. So once we got a solid process, we kind of did some analysis and determined how the processes were to load the truck and the techniques. Then we would want to look at the technology of loading the trucks, which when you're floor loading truck, there's not a whole lot of opportunities to really automate that other than making sure you're using maybe like a flexible conveyor or something that's speeding the delivery of the cases into the truck, so it's not being as much manually labor intensive of loading. So we would look at the distribution center and the plants, make sure they're utilizing flexible conveyors to help loading things to reduce cycle time, speed that process up. And on the outbound side, the other thing we want to look at is the actual material handling equipment to unload. Looking at the video, looked at predominantly what the truck drivers are using is a 2-wheel cart to go in and pick up the cases and unload into the cart, and unload into the bin. And what we want to try to do is what can we implement with changes in material handling equipment that would make that process a little bit easier on them. From a driver fatigue perspective, if they're on the road for 4 or 5 hours, there's a lot of work that they have to do to pick up cases and unload the bins. So we want to try to make it easier for them from a quality of life perspective. Maybe even try to improve the cycle time to unload a truck. So what we were thinking there is battery operated carts or carts that can be flipped over and go into 4 wheels versus 2 wheels. So some opportunities there to look at introducing some different equipment with the drivers as part of this project that would really help them out and defining what equipment that helps them to best serve their job.
One of the approaches we were considering was with regard to the route optimization for remote bin locations. In order to do that, we established 2 different goals, a short-term goal and a long-term goal. In the short term, what we would do is we would maximize the capacity of the amount of storage for inventory, and then in doing so, we would not have to service every week, but we could actually service the bin every other week. And over the long term, what we would do is we would use the point of sales data to create a demand forecast so that we can have a more accurate representation of what we need to have.
Thank you for watching our presentation over the Frito Lay case. The information we presented, we felt were the best opportunities for Frito Lay. Attached are our SEQA, our PowerPoint, our timeline, and supporting documentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Team 4